Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. But if you've never been here before, welcome. I hope you enjoy the video. Today it is a rainy, cold day in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I'm going to make some comfort food, and it's going to be beef tips and rice. So if you'd like to see how I make my beef tips and rice, just stay tuned. So when I'm making beef tips and rice, I like to start with a chuck roast. Instead of using the beef tips that are already cut up, I like to cut up my own. So you're going to need a chuck roast or beef roast, and you're going to need a Lipton onion soup packet, some beef broth, some cream of mushroom soup, a knife, of course, a clean dish towel, and your cutting board. Also some salt and pepper. I like to just cut up my roast into bite-sized pieces. Now this roast was a little more fatty than I like, so I did end up cutting a lot of the fat off of it. But here I'm just cutting it into bite-sized pieces. So on my stovetop, I'm just heating up some olive oil. I like to do this with a pat of butter because before I cook the meat, I like to dry it off really good because it helps to get it dry, of course, to make the meat sear a little bit better. I could have used a paper towel, but I just always use a dishcloth. So I'm going to salt and pepper the meat. And then I'm going to put it in the frying pan with some olive oil and butter to get that pretty brown sear on the top or on the outside of the meat. I probably could have let my oil heat up a little more before I put this in, but I didn't, so it turned out fine anyway. But you're not going to cook this all the way through. You're just putting it in long enough to get a brown sear on the outside. Just long enough to get that pretty brown color. I find that if you put it in the crock pot before you, without searing it, the meat tends to turn gray. It just doesn't look pretty. So I always sear my meat before I put it in the crock pot. Putting a little bit more salt and pepper. And a can of cream of mushroom. Does anybody else ever have trouble getting the mushroom soup out of the can? Every time I have trouble. Or either it comes out in a big clump. I'm going to add my Lipton soup mix packet. and my beef broth. Just enough to cover the top of the meat. Going to give it a stir. And the lid goes on. And I'm going to cook this on low for about 8 hours. After 8 hours, I'm going to go ahead and cook my rice. This is how I do my rice. My husband loves rice, so I cook a lot of it. I'm doing it in a rice cooker. So 2 cups of rice, 4 cups of beef broth, another packet of Lipton soup mix, onion soup mix, and 2 tablespoons of butter. And it's all going to go there in the rice cooker. And if you're not using a rice cooker, you can just cook it how you would normally cook rice. I just find it easy because I'm lazy. And while the rice is cooking, I'm going to start making my gravy for the beef tips. So I'm starting with some butter and some flour. And I'm going to cook that flour and butter mixture for a minute or two to get the flour taste out of it. And to make sure that there's no clumps in the gravy. Okay, it's been cooking for a few minutes, so now I'm going to start adding the liquid from my crock pot to the flour and butter mixture, and you'll see it's going to immediately start to thicken. Excuse me. I'm turning my heat down just a little. Might as well go ahead and put the rest of the liquid in. But it's getting good and thick. It's a pretty good consistency now. I'm going to go ahead and add a splash of heavy whipping cream. It just gives it a richness, and it makes it really creamy and smooth. If you haven't made gravy with heavy whipping cream, all you need is just a little dash. But if you'll do that, you'll find that your gravy is very creamy and rich. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my meat back into the gravy. And let that simmer just a little bit while the rice is cooking. And the rice is done. And there it is. Throw a piece of cornbread on that plate and you're good to go. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you happen to give this recipe a try, please let me know how it turned out. If you would like to click the red subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it, but make sure to click the bell so you'll be notified when I upload. If you enjoy the video, give me a thumbs up, and until next time, happy eating!